Hello everyone and welcome back. Today's review is all about Zeekr X, this beautiful grey paint contrasting very nicely with the background we're shooting in today. If there's one thing you have to know about me is that I'm usually hard to impress when it comes to EVs, and especially if they're Chinese. But this Zeekr X changed my whole perception about EVs, and I genuinely see myself daily driving one of these. We're going to be taking an in-depth interior and exterior tour of the Zeekr X and show you all its quirks and features, because trust me, this is a car you might want to see. Zeekr launched in Lebanon this summer with two models aiming to offer an autonomy range of up to 420 kilometers in the X. Like Volvo, Polestar, Smart, Lynk & Co and Lotus, Zeekr falls under the Geely umbrella and shares the same factory and assembly line as the others, ensuring it's a well-backed up brand when it comes to reliability. The Zeekr X sits on the new SEA platform, which is also used by the Volvo EX30. The design is futuristic and attractive, and some might favor the squashed rear end over the mustache-like front. Interestingly, the Zeekr X has a playful side too. There's a horse. For some reason, my Zeekr can make horse sounds. So imagine you're sitting inside your car, minding your own business, and then randomly a guy with a banana appears in front of you, and that pisses you off. You hate bananas. So there's two things you can do. Either run him over, or with the press of a button on your Zeekr, you can tell him,
"You have 3 seconds to look or I will floor it."
Now use this at your own risk, but there are other buttons you can press, for example, cat, to surprise some people. The car will literally start meowing. You have a sports car button, which is so funny. And you can also use this car as a loudspeaker so everybody can hear your shit music taste. Zeekr currently offers rear-wheel drive and all-wheel drive variants, but our focus will be on the best-selling all-wheel drive, selling at $45,000 with the dual motor setup and 428 PS. The keyfob is small, making it easy to forget in your pocket, though you'll rarely need it because the car automatically unlocks as you approach and locks when you walk away with melodic chimes. You can also use the tap to open feature on the B pillar. If you enjoy this type of content, make sure to like and subscribe and let me know which car you'd like to see next. I have to say, first of all, it is very minimalist, typical on your EV cars, and because we don't have any center console, it makes one for a very spacious cabin, and two, there isn't anything to bump my knee on, so when I'm driving, it's just a very comfortable seating position. And speaking of those seats, they're made of synthetic leather, but they're recycled material, and you're saving the environment, and they're super comfortable, and I really like the way they smell, honestly. It's a very premium cabin. And then we have beautiful microfiber headlining on the top. The door handle is simply a button, and you have to listen to that salesman when he's explaining the features inside it, especially within that screen, because everything in this car is controlled via this very high quality screen. I believe it's a 120 Hz display. It's very nice to use. We do have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, and including climate control, headlight commands, ambient lighting. If I were to nitpick, I would say I'd like to have like actual physical knobs, at least for the climate control or anything that you want to use quickly. Speaking of screens, we have a small mailbox style screen for the driver, again with basic functions displayed. It's not too overcrowded, and I like when you're driving you get silhouettes of the cars in front of you, so obviously we have an active radar system. And there's one thing that strikes me most inside the Zeekr is just how premium that brand feels, and they've made sure to position themselves high-end scale without keeping the price very high. The logo is very well designed, the quality, the material, the finish. I mean, that steering wheel is super minimalist with barely any buttons on it. You simply have two controls on either side and shortcut buttons behind it, and that's it. It just makes it feel like less is more. When it comes to practicality, the Zeekr X offers 362 liters of cargo space, which is smaller compared to other cars in the segment, but with additional storage under the floor, and the front only fits your charging cable or an iPad. Despite the compact rear end, I had no trouble entering and exiting the back seats thanks to decent head and legroom. Rear occupants also benefit from a center armrest, two USB ports, and individual air vents on the B pillar. Speaking of B pillar, there's an exterior display that shows pet mode activation, theater mode, and primarily your charging time when the car is plugged in. You can also adjust the charging current based on your electricity supply up to 32 amps. As for safety ratings, Zeekr has a huge list of safety features, including 5 HD cameras and 12 ultrasonic radars. Since it's under the supervision of Volvo and it's built on the same platform, expect Volvo safety level with 5 stars from the Euro NCAP crash tests. Now I'm realizing that this car is changing a lot of my car guy beliefs, because as a true petrol head, I don't really like electric vehicles, especially when it comes to Chinese cars. But for some reason, this car has won my heart, and I'm not just talking about the way it performs and in terms of acceleration, because That acceleration is something I can't get enough. I mean, that instant torque is just so playful, especially with all-wheel drive. This car is planted to the road, but if you want to play around and turn off traction control, I can promise you it does play around. And in terms of connectivity, this car is very well equipped, and despite having just a screen in the center, a very cliche electric car interior, I like it. And I'm glad to see that there is no throttle response lag. In fact, that acceleration is instant the second you put your foot on the throttle, which feels heavy under your foot. And this whoosh of adrenaline is something so addictive that every time I jump inside this car, I want to have fun, I want to floor it. And that range is still holding on quite well. But with me and my driving style, I don't think I'm gonna do the claimed range, to be honest. It's very smooth over road bumps, and these recycled leather seats are very nice. They hold you in quite well, especially when you want to do some swift maneuvers. So yeah, it feels kind of heavy, especially when you're turning aggressively into a corner. You will feel a lot of mass pushing through, but I mean, this all-wheel drive system makes it very stable on the road.
If I were to summarize my experience with the X, I'd say it is convenient. It just makes owning a car that much easier. I mean, having the car recognize your presence before reaching it and then just press on the brakes and drive, it makes it so easy. The acceleration genuinely feels like a roller coaster and is satisfying. It is designed in Sweden by former Audi and Bentley designer, and the interior options are just stunning. My grey spec looked great, paired with the ambient lighting and seat vibrations that sync with the music, and the white interior is just wow, so clean. That said, I'd recommend buying from the official distributor, Impex Lebanon, for software updates, an 8-year warranty, and proper support, including spare parts and service center. Zeekrs meant for the Chinese market do not comply with the GCC regulations, so you'd be wasting your money. Reach out to Impex Lebanon and test the car yourself, because it will genuinely change any preconceived notions you had about Chinese electric vehicles. It feels truly European.